How you like me now? I'm here to expose the lies, the schemes, yeah, the power that froze. I'm breaking chains, no silence allowed. Speaking for the people, I'm making you proud. From the streets to the suites, I've been in the fight. Shining through the dark, bringing truth to light. Leadership in action, and the time is ours. Rodney's on the mic, speaking truth to power. Speak on it now, let the truth unfold. Speak on it now, gotta break the mold. From the pain to the purpose, let the voices tower. Rodney W. Collins, speaking truth to power. I've seen the struggle, I've felt the strain, but silence in the face of wrong is the real pain. It's more than a fight, it's the courage to stand and build a better world with this strength of our hands. Leaders and liars, we're calling them out. For the ones without a voice, we're ending the doubt. Every word I speak, every action I take, it's about the truth and justice, no room for fake. Speak on it now, let your voice ignite. Speak on it now, stand up, take flight. From the ground to the towers, let the movement flower. Rodney W. Collins, speaking truth to power. Stand tall, speak loud, let the world take note. Power to the people, every word I quote. This is your moment, the time is here. Rodney's on the mic, making change crystal clear. Speak on it now, time to break the chains. Speak on it now, let the truth remain. From the silence to the spotlight, let the voices shower. Rodney W. Collins is speaking truth to power. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Rodney W. Collins, and this is to speak on this show. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. I was in here bopping my head to that go-go beat. Y'all heard that in the background. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Let's get these good mornings already. Brian Hoodie, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. James Battle, my man. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for continued support for this show. Boy, I tell you, there's a lot going on, and we just getting started, y'all. This is the beginning of a 4-year term for this president. We always say we need to be prepared for anything that's going to go on, but yeah, it's getting a little crazy. Reggie P. Rowe, my brother, good morning, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for your support. So I wanted to kick it off today. Today is the first day of Black History Month. You know, every year, first of the month, 1st of February, the shortest month of the year, but we're not going to complain. We getting something. But it's Black History Month, and later on in the show, I got something I want to run down to you about Black History Month. But I wanted to touch on something and just let you know that this is a time for us. I mean, we celebrate Black history every day. You know, most of us do. We read different authors, we read different books, documentaries, do what we do. But I want to make a point this month with everything that we got going on, because we've been, I'm going to say it this way, we've been consumed with everything that's been going on with this new administration coming in as of January 20th. And I think this month, don't take our foot off the neck now. I'm not saying that, but I think we need to step back for a minute during this month and really dig deep into our history and get our kids, our grandkids, and let them know, because much as they're trying to take away, we need to be the ones that keep it in the focus of what's going on in our communities and so on and so forth. So this month, let's make sure that we're taking that time to do these things. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm doing this right now. Roland Martin, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Great book. This is the second time I'm reading it, but I'm reading it over again because I want to get an understanding of the playbook that Roland Martin so eloquently put down in here on why there is white fear in America for what's going on. And how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. Then I'm going to move back into, as you see it there, the 1619 Project and reread those. So those are things that I'm doing. I'm not telling everybody they got to do the same thing, but I think we need to be cognizant during this time to dig down and, watch a little news, watch what's going on, tune in here every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific to get your updates on what's going on in the news, but also Let us not forget this month to dig down into our history and you know, enlighten some of those folks who may not know about the history. And we'll get into a little bit of that later. But I want to start off and send prayers and condolences to all those affected by the tragic plane crash in Washington, D.C. on the other day. It was an American Airlines plane with 60 passengers and 4 crew on board, collided in midair with an Army Black Hawk helicopter carrying 3 soldiers near the Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Crashed in the Potomac River. They fear the remains of 41 victims have been recovered, but they, from what last report I heard, was they don't expect to find any survivors, and I think that was the next day. All the black boxes from the plane and the helicopter have been recovered. It was coming from Wichita, Kansas, with a bunch of, I think it was ice skaters, if I'm recalling. Yeah, top figure skaters from the United States and Russia were on board. Helicopter was on a training flight with a crew based out of Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And I don't know if a lot of you have been in the D.C. area to know where Ronald Reagan National Airport is situated and the complexities of getting in and out of there as far as flying. Me personally, and I don't want to diminish anything that happened here or the lives of those people, but I flew into Reagan National one time, and that was the only time I flew in there because I just didn't like the way it was set up. I didn't like the way it comes in. You know, and I guess some of it is a phobia from when I was younger for the plane crash to hit the 14th Street Bridge back when I was a kid, back in the day. But send our prayers out to all those that were affected by that. And then yesterday evening, there was a small medical transport plane carrying a child, her mother, and 4 other people. We went down to Philadelphia on Friday in a fiery crash near a busy mall. The Learjet 55 crashed near the Roosevelt Mall in Northeast Philadelphia around 6:30 p.m. after departing from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, according to authorities. There is no official word yet on the number of injuries or deaths. Speaking at a news conference Friday, Philadelphia Mayor Cheryl Parker said officials could not yet provide a number of fatalities. Right now, we're just asking for prayers. Several homes and vehicles were impacted by the crash, said the mayor, who urged residents to stay away from the scene. So we've had two plane crashes within this week. They're still trying to figure out what exactly went on. You know, the one with the helicopter hitting it and the one where it just went down on takeoff. So we'll be sitting, watching, seeing what's going on with that. Because I don't want to jump to conclusions. Not like our president, our new president, or the person that sits in the Oval Office. Let's just put it that way. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. But when you have death and tragedy like this, it's not a time to politicize this. It's not a time to start pointing fingers. Let's get the investigation done and then go from there. Not automatically jump to conclusions about who, what, when, where, and why, just for your, for your own edification or whatever it may be. But we're going to get into that in a minute. But I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. Thanks for coming in. And hey, it's Saturday morning, y'all. Black History Month starts today. You know, every day is Black History if you're a Black person. So, you are. Everyone out there within earshot who is Black, you are Black history. One way or another, you are Black history. And let's celebrate it today. Look back at those who paved the way for us. Call your elders that you know. Let them know you're thankful for all the struggles they went through for us to be in the position we are now. Do not take it for granted. Do not take it for granted. And yeah, it's Black History Month, y'all. But we're going to get into this real quick. Let's go. Now I want to get into this a little bit on the deal somewhat with the collision that happened at Reagan National, but not in the sense of who's at fault or anything. I want to get into the person that sits in the Oval Office pointing fingers. They had that press conference. I watched it. He was there. The DOD guy, Hedseth, was there and all that. And they kept on making it a point to say that DEI practices are to blame for the fatal crash that happened that evening. Now, DEI has become the new N-word. Let's just put it out there on the table. DEI has become the new N-word. If you really look at the big scope of things, DEI has become the new N-word because most people that don't know what DEI stands for look at it as it's only dealing with black folks, as we've mentioned many times on here. So it has become the new N-word. Let's just cut through the chase and call it what it is. Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. But in that press conference, I sat there and I watched it just to hear what they had to say. And everything pointed to, they blamed Obama, they blamed Biden, they blamed, the air traffic controllers saying they're not trained correctly or any of these, all these different things that they want to put the blame on. But if you go back and they showed the video of the crash that happened, when you really look at it, you don't know until the full investigation is done. That's why they have FAA, National Transportation Safety Board. You have these people to do these investigations, but you can't do these investigations if you don't have anybody in charge of the FAA, if you don't have anybody in charge of the NTSB that's going to do an investigation, not by the laurels of who they think needs to hear what they need to hear, but by the investigation being done for the simple fact of finding the facts rather than finding favor for whoever is in charge. I say all that because Donald Trump has been playing the blame game, and this is an article by Andy Kalmowitz. And it says DEI practices Trump blames for fatal plane crash were launched by him. The FAA's diverse hiring practice was first installed while Trump was president for the first time. Let me repeat that for all those Trump followers out there that say he had nothing to do with it. DEI practices Trump blames for fatal plane crash were launched by him. The FAA's diverse hiring practices were first installed while Trump was president for the first time. President Donald Trump has been playing the blame game with the deadly mid-air collision between the American Airlines jet and the U.S. Army Black Hawk, pointing the finger at former presidents Obama and Biden, as well as DEI hiring practices. It's almost a certainty that this crash had nothing to do with these people and things, but that didn't stop him from saying two Democrats imposed a big push to put diversity that he claims weakened the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. Here's the issue with Trump's fingering, according to Andy Kalmowitz, of Biden and Obama. The FAA began these diversity programs during his first term in office, according to the Washington Post. While reading through a Fox News article on live television, Trump listed conditions that he implied would disqualify people from being air traffic controllers: hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism. Trump clearly did not realize that the very thing he was rallying against is something he wants, tangentially, at least, supported. Here's what he went on to say. Can you imagine, he asked, brilliant people have to be in those positions and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress. He suggested that it was wrong for anyone with those conditions to qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. Trump applied a sort of Michael Scott snip, snap theory to DEI hiring practice for air traffic controllers during the press conference. He said, I changed Obama's standard from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. Then they changed it back. That was Biden. I guess he just hasn't had the chance to switch it back again. Here's more from the Washington Post. Trump's claim was repeated in an executive order Trump signed Thursday that ordered a review of aviation safety. During my first time, my administration raised standards to achieve the highest standards of safety and excellence. That's false. In his first term, Trump left the standards unchanged. So whatever's already in place in his first term, we're still in place today, unless there were some changes that Biden made, because Trump never made any changes to what was in place in Obama's time, dealing with DEI, with the dwarfism and different things like that. For air traffic control, the Obama administration in 2013 instituted the new hiring system that introduced a biographical questionnaire to attract minorities underrepresented in the control corps. The program was criticized, such as in a Fox News report in 2015, as making it harder for more skilled applicants to get hired as controllers. Let me stop there for a minute, because I want to make this clear, and I think y'all have heard it, but I want to make this clear. DEI being implemented into these workplaces did not diminish the qualifications you had to meet in order to get the job. DEI did not diminish the qualifications and the requirements for you to get a job that you applied for. DEI is simply so you get the interview because of how you look or what race you are, what gender you are. All those things helped you get the interview. Your qualifications and your experience helped get you to interview, because there's a lot of times, and we have to go back in history, there's a lot of times that people who look like me and brown folks and women who were qualified for positions did not get the interview simply because they were women or people of color. Let's just get this DEI thing and put it to rest, that DEI, being the new N word that they want to use, does not eliminate the fact that you have to be qualified and meet the qualifications for a position. So all these people out here running with, oh, it was a DEI hire, this, that. Shut up. Because if we went by DEI in the context of what it was supposed to be from the beginning, and look at some of these people who have been hired that don't look like me, you should be calling them DEI hires if they want to go by the way that they want to describe it, because most of them aren't qualified and don't meet the requirements of what the position has to entail for them to have the position. They simply got the position because they had the complexion for the protection. Simple. But they don't want to hear that. Let's not talk about that. Wait a minute. So when you hear this plane crash being put in the realms of it's because of DEI hires, people need to sit back and do some research and find out that, I want to say, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I seen it yesterday, I think 93% of air traffic controllers are white men. 93% of air traffic controllers are white men. So if you want to blame it on DEI, blame it on the fact that your DEI overlook allowed these 93% of white men in air traffic control to be in these positions, not because they're qualified, but because of how they look. I sat there and I watched that press conference. Let me tell you, it was a travesty. Let's call it what it is. For him to stand there when people have lost lives, people are trying to find out about their loved ones and everything, and to stand there and say it's because of DEI. No compassion for the people that lost lives. No compassion for the dead that were dead, that were in the accident. But wants to push the blame on everybody else. Why? Because he doesn't want this scar on his administration in this first 2 weeks. Come on. It's the same thing we dealt with COVID, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole again. He didn't want it to be on his watch. So he made up all these different things and he's blaming everybody else, but you in charge, bro. You're supposed to be the man in charge. You the one to pull the strings, but you want to blame everybody else except for taking accountability. And then another one. I'm going to leave the plane crash with them. RFK Jr.'s stunning claim about black people and vaccines sparks concern from medical experts. Now, here's the thing. RFK Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is up to be, what is he supposed to be? The head of the Department of Health and Human Services. Has no medical background. Has no medical background. He is a vaccine denier. Anything you can think of to do with medical, he goes totally against. But he is up to be over top of the Department of Health and Human Services. Faye Jackson, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Of Health and Human Services. And it says, this is an article by Gillian Wilson. It says, from COVID-19 conspiracy theories to confusion on the facts about Medicare and Medicaid to refusing to say that vaccines aren't linked to autism. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation hearings this week on Capitol Hill on Capitol Hill were anything but smooth for someone who was hoping to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. While his history of anti-vaccine remarks was a major talking point throughout the hearings, his beliefs were also front and center during a heated exchange in which Senator Angela Also Brooks from Maryland, Democrat, brought up a comment that Kennedy once made about vaccinations and the Black community. And I want you to hear this. In 2021, Kennedy had said, "We should not be giving Black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours. We should not be giving Black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours." Roy Windsor, my brother. Good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Also, Brooks asked Kennedy to explain what he meant by that remark. And he went on to reference a series of studies while saying research shows that Blacks need fewer antigens. For the record, experts say this is not true. Right now, how vaccine schedules are tailored is based on things like your age, your exposure risk, if you have other chronic underlying health conditions, but race isn't one of them, and there isn't research that suggests that it should be. Joelle Burville, a recent medical graduate and medical mythbuster on social media, told the Huffington Post. What especially bothered Burville about Kennedy's exchange with Also Brooks was the fact that he doubled down on his comment from 2021. Kennedy could have used this as an opportunity to admit he needs to do more research and understand the vaccine schedule, but instead, he defended what he said, which I think for me, that's where the problem lies. Not necessarily the fact of misinformation is out there, but the fact that he wasn't willing to at least confront it or admit that on stage. Let me read what he said one more time. I want y'all to grasp this. We should not be giving Black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours. Now I want to step back for a minute before I get down in here. And I want to make sure I get this right. At one time in our history, we had tails. We were supposed to have tails. We were animals. We don't have the brain power that white folks have. Any disparaging remarks or things you can hear about Black folks that you heard in the past comes out in this statement right here. But at this time, they're saying that Black people don't need it because we need fewer antigens. And he's not even a doctor. He doesn't research, but they want to make him over top of the Department of Health and Human Services. And it says here, Kennedy's comment can be considered scientific racism, an expert says. In medicine, in science, we know that race is a social construct, meaning that you can't look at someone's genes and identify what race they are. Let me repeat that for some of those folks out there that didn't catch that. In medicine, in science, we know that race is a social construct, meaning that you can't look at someone's genes and identify what race they are. But you can't tell that to those people that are out there, the white nationalists, white supremacists who think that something's in their blood that's better than what's in my blood. But scientists have said, when you pull blood, when you look at the genes, you can't tell what race they are. Race is a social construct. That means differences in vaccine timelines just don't make scientific sense. The comment that Kennedy made about the vaccine schedule is basically scientific racism, which has been debunked. Dr. Oni Blackstock, a primary care and HIV physician who is the founder and executive director of Health Justice, a racial and health equity consulting company, told the Huffington Post. He's really perpetuating this false belief that Black people are somehow biologically different from white people, and in that way, justifying differential and ultimately unequal treatment for Black versus white people. By saying that he was putting on one of the largest stages in healthcare, this notion that race-based medicine should still exist, when that's actually what many scientists recently have been trying to root out. Y'all remember the Tuskegee experiment? You remember when COVID was coming around and we all reflected back on what they did during the Tuskegee experiment where black folks like, I'm not getting that vaccine. They might not be giving me the right vaccine because they might be separating and giving the white folks this vaccine and black folks this vaccine, which causes us to have a fear of what the medical profession does when we go in doctor's offices and so on and so forth because of thoughts like this. Well, you don't really need this because your antigens are a lot better. So rather than treat you for this, I'm going to give you this. But if you're white, I'm going to give you this because I know this will heal you. If you're black, if it works, Now, I'm not telling you this not to go to the doctor like you're supposed to. I'm not telling you to get your checkups. Go to the doctor, get your checkup, get your blood work, get all that stuff done. I'm telling you this because this is the ignorance that you're trying to involve in this administration, in government at this time. Race-based medicine and scientific racism has led to under-treatment of black patients, dismissal of pain, and even death. You remember when they start talking about women's health care and birth care? I can't remember what they call it. You know, when a woman's pregnant and so forth. And there was this thing where women would go to black women would go to the hospital and they wouldn't treat them because they said their pain tolerance is supposed to be so much higher. So they wouldn't treat them in the way they would a white woman and so on and so forth. And there's many women who died during pregnancy because of this, because they didn't give them the anesthesia. They didn't give them the epidurals. They didn't give them the routine things that they should give them. Really. Because this mindset that has been put into the equation of medicine and treating us has this false narrative that we're different. So rather than giving you this medication, I'm going to give you that medication because the medication that treats white folks won't do the same thing for you because your antigens and your cells in your system are different than white folks. But as I said before, race is a social construct. So when you get to talking about this, how can you honestly say that something you're treating that white man with wouldn't be the same thing that you should treat me with if I'm having bouts with diabetes or I need something with my kidney or my gallbladder or any of those type things? But this man that's saying this, that's spewing this, is the same person they want to put over the Department of Health and Human Services, which covers everybody in the United States, and they have already withdrawn from the World Health Organization. Which by doing that, and I'm caveating a little bit, by pulling away from the World Health Organization, we also pulled away from anything that deals with AIDS. People that were getting the AIDS medication, HIV AIDS medication aren't getting that anymore because he pulled out of that. Redlined all that. There's no more treatment for that. So most people who have been surviving with the HIV AIDS will soon die because they're not producing that medication anymore now that they pulled out the World Health Organization. Oh boy. Both experts pointed to real life examples of this, like the false belief that black people have better functioning kidneys than white people. This made it harder for black people to get the treatment they needed, like kidney transplants, according to Burville. And this thought pattern isn't from some faraway time. A medical equation that reinforced this bias wasn't changed until 2021. 2021 is when they finally changed this mindset that black people have better functioning kidneys than white people. So they wouldn't treat us. If you went into the doctor's office with a kidney problem and the white man came into that, they would treat him, but they tell you because you supposedly have a better functioning kidney, we don't really need to do anything with you. But then when you go back, you're way past the point of even being able to have dialysis because they didn't treat you from the beginning, which could have prevented so many things. What's more, during the 1793 yellow fever epidemic in Philadelphia, black people were believed to be resistant to yellow fever, which was not true, and led to high mortality rates among black people, Blackstock explained. The importance of understanding the problem with the myth is that they can literally lead to regulations being written into medicine to treat population differently just based on race. It can actually change the care that people receive. While it's easy to look at a particular viewpoint as one-off, medical racism has real-world consequences that irresponsible comments can make worse. Promoting debunked beliefs distracts us from really doing the work that we need to do, which is dismantling systemic racism in healthcare and ensuring that everyone has equitable access to preventative care and treatments that they need. And because of this, these stances cause us as a community to have mistrust with the healthcare system. One thing that is also kind of strange about Kennedy is he's someone who for a long time has said that he doesn't support vaccines. Apparently now he's changed his mind, but for a long time he said he hasn't supported vaccines. And then he's also saying that black people should get a different vaccine schedule. So you have to wonder, what is your goal in saying that if you don't even believe in vaccines? Playing to an audience of one. This is what you call playing to an audience of one that will affect the masses. And then the article ends up and says, experts say this rhetoric aligns with the messaging from Donald Trump. Blackstock stressed that while such false beliefs are very problematic, they track with much of the messaging from Donald Trump and his new presidential administration. It echoes some of the rhetoric that Trump has shared around eugenics and immigrants. He's talked about immigrants having bad genes or poisoning the blood of our country. It speaks to this idea of racial purity or genetic purity, and this false idea that certain groups of people are inherently inferior or predisposed to certain behaviors because of their genetics. And again, race is all a social construct and does not equal genetic differences. It's just really shocking that in the year of 2025, we are still dealing with these beliefs being propagated that have been around for several centuries. They have been used to justify slavery, used to justify inequitable treatment, used to justify forced sterilization. And RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is going through nomination process to be over top of the Department of Health and Human Services for this country. Now, everything that I read there deals with the misperceptions or the misinformation dealing with black folks as a whole. As far as him saying that our we don't need the antigens and, our bodies function differently and so on and so forth. But I'm going to speak to everybody out there who is not black or brown per se. And I'm going to ask you, do you want, and let me start with this. We always have the question asked to us, why is everything about race? I'm going to go here today on Black History Month. Why do we make everything about race? But then you get mad when we tell you why we have these issues with what happens to us because of our race. But then when you hear these stories about what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said, and then when you know what went on with the Tuskegee experiment, you know what's going on through history, and then you know Donald Trump trying to blame DEI, which most people try to equate to only black folks, and you hear these things coming out, and then you ask us, why do we make everything about race? We don't. They do. You do. All we do is respond to the fact of the inequities in what you're talking about. You can't keep telling me that I'm the one propagating these conversations about race when you're the ones that do it and follow the leader as far as the people that are in charge of this country or about to be put in positions that oversee the health care of everybody in this country who will discriminate against people that look like me. So stop it and get away from me with this. Why do you make everything about race? No, I don't make everything about race. I react to the racism that deals with my race. See, there's a difference there. When these conversations come up and you get offended because I talk about the unequal things that go on, or the lack of equality, or the injustices, you're mad at me. I didn't make the system. I'm trying to change the system. And by you getting mad at me tells me you're okay with the system because it doesn't affect you. I'm not the brightest light bulb in the socket, but I do flicker every once in a while. And during my flickering times of being not the brightest light bulb, I do understand and have experienced being a black man in this country. No matter what I've done, no matter what I've supported, no matter if I would have gave my life to this country, I know what it is to be a black man in this country. And I know what it is to be felt unequal and to be see things done that are not on the up and up just because of who I am and what I look like. And if it's happening to me, how many other people is it happening to in this country? I'm one example. Let's talk about all the other examples. But then out of your mouth, you want to say, why is everything about race? Slavery was about race, wasn't it? Civil War was about race, wasn't it? I'm just, Jim Crow was about race, wasn't it? The Civil Rights Act was put into place because of race, wasn't it? So miss me with the fact that you want to confront and ask black folks why everything is about race when this country from its inception made it about race. You can talk about the Native American Indians if you want to. But we don't want to talk about the true history. The true history. We want to talk about why is everything about race? James Battle, the 2024 election was about race. Oh, well, I don't want to go there. But you're right. And then people will throw up in there. I'm glad you said that because people will throw up in there. Well, Obama was elected twice. It's not about race. Shut up. Shut up. Just because one day y'all decide to go to the polls and vote for this man to be president twice on 2 different days in November of, what was it? I can't remember the years. And he became president. It was about race then, when he won, when Jesse Jackson ran, when Shirley Chisholm ran, when Dick Gregory ran. We don't make it about race. We respond to the racism. There's a difference. We don't make it about race. We respond to the racism. Keep that in mind next time you want to ask a black person, why do you make everything about race? Because we don't. We respond to the racism. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. Let's go. Fellas, it's time to elevate your grooming game. Introducing Respected Roots, the premium beard care line designed with black men in mind. Because your beard isn't just facial hair, it's a statement, a symbol of confidence, style, and strength. All right, let's talk about keeping your beard sharp and on point. First step, sculpting. Fresh lines are everything. Keeping it clean and defined sets the foundation for a great beard. Once I've got the shape locked in, it's time to cleanse. The Respected Roots Beard Wash gets rid of dirt and buildup without drying out my beard. It leaves my beard feeling soft,
and refreshed. Next up, the beard oil. This is where the hydration magic happens. I massage it in, making sure it gets to the skin underneath. It keeps my beard moisturized and smelling fresh all day. And finally, the beard butter. This locks in all the moisture, smooths out any frizz, and gives my beard that healthy, polished shine. Look at this. It's soft, full, and ready to dominate. From sculpting to styling, Respected Roots has everything you need to take your beard to the next level. Gentlemen, your beard deserves respect, and respect starts with Respected Roots. Use the link to grab yours today and receive 15% off. Trust me, your beard will thank you. RespectedRoots.com/Rodney 55428. As I mentioned before, when you go to the website, make sure you put the whole thing in, RespectedRoots.com/Rodney 55428. It'll give you a different link in order to order and get your discount on your order. All right. Robert Osborne, hey, little fella. I ain't going to be too many more little fellas, but okay. What's going on, my brother? Appreciate you. So I wanted to touch on this before I move forward. And this is from the book White Fear by Roland Martin, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. And it goes along with what I was just talking about. And it says, white supremacy has been at the foundation of this country's infrastructure since the first enslaved Africans arrived on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. And it continues to have a lasting impact in this country. Racial division has defined America, and race continues to dominate the American psyche like no other. In fact, race is so embedded in the DNA of America that most of us are unaware of how deeply it affects how we live, move, and breathe. Now, I want you to hear this part. While the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968 provided necessary legislation and policy to give African Americans basic civil rights, these policies did not address the underlying fundamental problems of why we needed to create legislation to address these issues in the first place. White fear. Go get your copy. It'll open your eyes through the history of why we are and why there's white fear in this country. Now, I wanted to start with this. Like I said, today is the first day of Black History Month. And Pete Hegseth, the DOD Secretary of Defense, announces death of identity months at DOD as part of DEI crackdown. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued guidance on the eve of Black History Month, declaring that identity months are dead at the Pentagon. The guidance announced Friday stated that the Defense Department will not use official resources to include man hours to host celebrations or events related to celebrations of the various months. Hegseth's announcement did invite service members and civilians to still attend celebrations in their unofficial capacity outside of duty hours. Our unity and purpose are instrumental to meeting the department's warfighting mission. Efforts to divide the force to put one group ahead of another erode camaraderie and threaten mission execution, the guidance said. The months listed included Black History Month for February, Women's History Month for March, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month for May, and Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th, among others. Installations, units, and officers are encouraged to celebrate the valor and success of military heroes of all races, genders, and backgrounds as we restore our warrior culture and ethos. We are proud of our warriors and their history, but we will focus on the character of their service instead of their immutable characteristics. The guidance from Hegseth continued. So DOD, let me just give you a little bit for anybody who never served or wasn't in DOD as civilian or otherwise. Black History Month and those other months that I mentioned, they would usually have a luncheon or breakfast, and they would have a guest speaker there, that has been in the fight for, Black history and things like that, or has done something great. And they would have them come and be a guest speaker, and you would go and have breakfast or lunch, and they'd have the guest speaker, and it always concentrated on Black History Month. They'd have different things going on, either lunch, breakfast, like I said, and different things like that. But they're eliminating that all from DOD. Yeah. Yeah. But we're not going to eliminate it from what we do. I can tell you that. Not on my watch. But also, I want to put this quote up. Malcolm X. You know, I'm a big Malcolm X buff, history buff. And he said the media's the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And that's power. Because they control the minds of the masses. Malcolm X. And I put this up here because I want you to listen to this. This is another thing that DOD Hegseth did, Secretary of Defense. Pentagon removes major media outlets, including NBC News, from dedicated workstations as part of new rotation program. James Battle, they're not just trying to eliminate our history, they're trying to eliminate us. And let me put a caveat in here, and I posted it this week, so I don't want people to think that I just throw stuff out there and then when it comes back and they change it, I talked last week about the Tuskegee Airmen being taken out of the curriculum at Air Force Basic Training, and then it was put back in. I posted it. I don't have no problem saying when it comes back to changing things, they changed it. Okay, but why did they change it? Let's not take our foot off their necks when we see things being done wrong that we know should be done right. The outpouring of discourse about them taking that out of the curriculum caused them to put it back in. They can say it didn't. They can say it was an oversight. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing because none of this has been thought through. They knew what they were doing. But back to this. The Department of Defense announced Friday they would institute a new annual media rotation program for its in-house press corps, effectively removing several major news outlets, including NBC News, from Pentagon office spaces in favor of other outlets. NBC has been around forever. You remember there was only 3 channels? ABC networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and I think PBS, maybe. That was it. And then removing NBC. Why? Because NBC was one of the staunch reporters of what was going on with Pete Hegseth with all his rape allegations, the drinking and everything, and NBC kept their foot on his neck during this time, reporting on what they knew, and now they're being removed for the likes of, what are the names? They're putting new, One American News is one of them they're putting in there. I'm not even going to get into it. All I know is what Malcolm X said. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and make the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. By removing NBC and putting someone else in there that is more, that curries favor towards them, gives them the opportunity to do what they want at the Pentagon when they do these speeches, no pushback or anything like that. They're trying to set an example with NBC. Who's next? Who's next? You know, we when we talk about Malcolm X, we talk about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You had to look at the thing. They knew these things at the time. They talked about these things at the time that they were in the fight. And these things are still going on. James Battle, you the man. Breitbart and New York Post are the other 2. There you go. Thanks. I couldn't find it. You know, I print this stuff out, but I couldn't find it on here, man. Appreciate you though, bro. Yeah. So Breitbart, New York Post. I know I printed it, man, because I want to give you, there's one name that jumped out at me that I really wanted you to know, because if you ever turn on their channel, you would know why they would do that. Okay. NBC News, the New York Times, National Public Radio, and Politico must vacate their dedicated workspaces. The news organizations found out in a memo sent to the press corps without being individually notified, and an accompanying email included a message that read in part, no additional information will be provided at this time. There it is. There it is. Yeah. But as I said, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were visionaries. They seen the writing on the wall of how these things would turn out and what's going on. But I want to do this now. Being it's Black History Month, I'm going to give you a little Black history. And I found this, and it says the most unforgettable moments in Black history. Black History 2025, from the Selma March to Obama's inauguration, these moments have shaped us as a whole. And I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to go through them, and we're going to go through them. We got time today. If we can talk about all the other stuff, we can talk about Black history. So let's do this. Uh-oh, a minute. Let me minimize me a little bit. Let me pull back some. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. So y'all can see them more than you see me. Montgomery bus boycott. The Montgomery bus boycott began in 1955 and was a civil rights protest in which Black folks refused to ride city buses in Montgomery, Alabama. To protest segregated seating. 4 days before the boycott, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her bus seat to a white man. The Montgomery bus boycott is seen as the first large-scale U.S. demonstration against segregation. It ended in 1956. That's a year, y'all. A year. Selma to the Montgomery March. The Selma to Montgomery March took place in 1965 in Alabama. In March, protesters walked the 54-mile route in an effort to register Black voters in the South. However, they were met with violence from white vigilante groups as well as local authorities. Moments from the brutal confrontations were captured on television. How many of y'all are ready to walk and march 54 miles for what's right? Let's just talk about it. Hattie McDaniels makes Oscar history. Hattie McDaniel made history by becoming the first African-American to win an Oscar for her supporting role as Mammy, Scarlett O'Hara's house slave in the 1939 movie Gone with the Wind. However, the ceremony was held at the segregated Ambassador Hotel, which meant that McDaniels wasn't allowed to sit with the cast of the film. Want our rhythm, don't want our blues. Birmingham church bombing. In September 1963, white supremacists bombed the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. As a result, 4 young Black girls were killed. The church bombing happened 11 days after the federal government had ordered the integration of Alabama's school system. Birmingham also had one of the most violent chapters of the Ku Klux Klan, which is still in existence today. And this was, the bombing was in 1963. And they're still in existence today. Brown versus Board of Education. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools violated the 14th Amendment's mandate of equal protection of the laws of the U.S. Constitution. In the Brown decision, Chief Justice Earl Warren famously stated that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal, and they're trying to do it again. With the education, get rid of the Department of Education, go with these charter schools, public schools will go away. Who's going to get educated? They're taking books out of the classrooms. You see the writing on the wall. George Floyd protests. In May of 2020, 46-year-old George Floyd died after being handcuffed and pinned to the ground by police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin was recorded kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes. The day after Floyd's killing, protesters in Minneapolis took to the streets to express their outrage. These protests were quickly spread across the country. Qualified immunity. Be ready for it. Qualified immunity. And I think what Jacqueline Diggs Barnett said last week, don't be surprised when Derek Chauvin is pardoned. But I think it's not a federal crime. I don't know if they charged him federally or state, but we'll see. Barack Obama becomes nation's first Black president. On January 20th, 2009, Barack Obama was the first Black person to be inaugurated as president of the United States. He was also reelected and served 2 consecutive terms, making him the 44th president. His father grew up in Kenya, while his mother, who is white, hailed from Kansas. Tulsa Race Massacre. The 1921 Tulsa Massacre is considered the worst incident of racial violence in American history. We'll repeat that. The 1921 Tulsa Massacre is considered the worst incident of racial violence in American history. From May 31st And June 1st, 1921, more than 1,000 homes and businesses were destroyed, with the death toll ranging from 50 to 300. Oklahoma's second largest black community had been demolished. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Why? Because they were black. They were building wealth within their community, and they decided to burn it down. But we make everything about race. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Had a Dream speech in 1963, around 250,000 people, both black and white, took part in the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. made an appearance and preached about nonviolent resistance. I have a dream, King said in his famous speech. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He ended one of the greatest speeches in American history with, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. James Battle. A bomb was set off in front of my house when I was about 12 years old because my brother was dating a white girl at his high school. Our family was terrorized for at least 3 or so years by her family, who were one of the richest families in Huntsville, Alabama. See, thank you, James Battle, because I want to say this. We have to get out of this mindset that these things happened so long ago. James Battle was 12 years old when this happened. A bomb set out in front of his house. Why? Because his brother, a black young man, was dating a white girl. And they wanted to take out the whole family. Let's just be honest about it. I'm not putting words in his mouth. I'm just telling you what I know to be true. But we act like, and they act like, that these things happened so long ago. No, it ain't that long ago. George Floyd wasn't that long ago. Ahmaud Arbery wasn't that long ago. None of these things were that long ago. Keep that in mind. Shirley Chisholm runs for president. In 1968, Shirley Chisholm became the first black woman in Congress. In 1972, she tried her hand at the presidency. Though she didn't win a primary, Chisholm received more than 150 votes at the Democratic National Convention. Chisholm made history by becoming the first black woman to seek nomination for president of the United States from one of the 2 major political parties. She laid the groundwork. Rodney King riots in 1992. The 4 Los Angeles officers accused of using excessive force in the violent beating of black motorist Rodney King were found not guilty after the case was tried. This injustice led to 4 days of the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles. When they finally ended, 55 people were dead, more than 2,300 injured, and more than 1,000 buildings were burned to the ground. King ultimately received $3.8 million from the city in a settlement. Now, we all seen the Rodney King beating. We seen the video. What could anyone do that is so bad, that 4 people sworn to protect and defend the law would feel the need to beat somebody that bad? And then, for the justice system and the jury of their peers to say not guilty. But why do we talk about race? Yeah. Million Man March. In 1995, hundreds of thousands of black men participated in the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. It was organized by Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is known for his work with the Nation of Islam. The march was to dispel negative images and stereotypes of black men. Its success inspired the Million Woman March, which took place 2 years later in Philadelphia. And that, in 1995, the Million Man March was a success, but it would have been more successful if they didn't take the time to try to distance us against each other simply because Minister Louis Farrakhan was the face of the Million Man March. And some of us, and I say us, not me, but some of us fell for the okie doke and decided not to participate or not be a part of it, because Minister Louis Farrakhan was the face, and people allowed the media to impregnate their mind with anything negative they could find about Reverend Minister Louis Farrakhan. Just call it what it is. Lynn Sewell, good morning, my brother. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. Robert Osborne, imagine all the unreported police beatings. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they don't keep track of them anymore. They don't keep track of police brutality cases. They don't track them. They don't track police shootings. They don't keep a record of year to year or month to month. They don't keep records of that. So that'll tell you everything that you need to know right there, which is why they're pushing for qualified immunity for police officers. And the last one today, Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm the wrong one. I'm sorry. What happened to Kamala? I forgot to put it on here. I'm sorry, y'all. Kamala Harris becomes the nation's first black vice president. In January 2021, Kamala Harris made history by becoming the first woman and first black person to become vice president of the United States. She was nominated by former President Joe Biden during the Democratic Party's remote national convention in 2020. Harris's mother migrated to the United States from India, and her father migrated here as well. Let me see something here. Did I forget? I forgot. I apologize, y'all, for leaving her off. It was a mistake. It wasn't done on purpose. I love me some Kamala Harris, so don't at me. It was a mistake. I make mistakes too. I'm a one-man operation. But I wanted to get into this. It was my next slide. I talked about this on here, and I want everybody to see this because there's a lot of things going on Facebook that a lot of you may not agree with, but I want to say it this way. I don't want you to leave Facebook. Let me clear that up because I told y'all I might not be broadcasting on here anymore. I'm not going to leave Facebook as far as having my page and everything because I want to make sure that I'm in line with the things that are being posted, being talked about on Facebook. However, I want everybody to look at migrating or adding you got Facebook, Instagram, and all that. I want people to maybe take a look at, as I mentioned before, Fanbase. And this is Isaac Hayes III, the proprietor of Fanbase. And if you see by his picture, that little thing, that shows you what Fanbase looks like, which is no different than Facebook. It's no different than Facebook. But I want everybody to take the time to go over there and make you an account and peruse through and start using it because this is one of those FUBUs, for us, by us. Now, it's not only for black folks. Anybody can join, but it's like the FUBU movement, for us, by us. And I want to read to you. It said, the son of this music legend has an alternative to TikTok. Here's the tea. Isaac Hayes III's app has grown in popularity, raising over 5.2 million from crowdfunding. And they were talking about when TikTok goes away, this may be the way to go. It says, the son of legendary soul singer Isaac Hayes has come to the rescue with Fanbase. Founded in 2018, the Atlanta-based social media company allows users to easily get paid through the content they create and share, whether that's photos, videos, or music. Furthermore, for those who want exclusive content from their favorite influencers and creators, there are subscription tiers that range from $2.99 to $99.99 that allow you to further support the people you follow, according to the app's website. Although it's encouraged for you to subscribe, it's not required for you to enjoy the app. It's free for you to follow anyone on the platform, and it's free to download on Apple and Google's app. Users can also invest in the company. If you have at least $399 to spare, you can make an investment that will be speculative, illiquid, and involves a high degree of risk, including the possible loss of entire investment, according to the app site. That's with anything, though. While it's a risk many may not be willing to make, it's already worked for the app, as Hayes recently announced that they have raised $5.2 million from crowdfunding. Currently, Fanbase is number 7 on the Apple Store for social networking and 17 for free apps overall. On the Google Play Store, the app is currently number 10 for social media. So during Black History Month, go support for us, by us, Fanbase. Go on over there and make an account. It don't take long. Go in there, make an account, peruse through, see if some of your friends are there. Send them invites. I've gone in there. I got to go back in there because I haven't gone in there since I signed up. But go in there, peruse a little bit, look and see what's going on. And I plan to do some broadcasting through Fanbase more than I am on Facebook. I will still can be on YouTube, but I'm going to migrate my live shows over to Fanbase eventually. I just got to find the time to get that done. As I mentioned to y'all, it'll probably be the end of the month. No later than March. No later than the end of March. So y'all bear with me. Fan base, Isaac Hayes III. No different than Facebook, TikTok, all the other ones. Go on and make you an account. It ain't going to hurt you. Kevin Banks, good morning, bro. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, my brother. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. I know I sent you a message, but I'm going to tell you again, my brother, because you my brother. So let's get into this real quick. I've set out on a new venture. And I think I've talked to y'all about this before. And it's called Life-Gistics Coaching Solutions. Life-Gistics Coaching Solutions. And this is my new baby from cradle to grave. I'm trying to build this thing up. And I've got the website is up and functioning now. But this is my new venture, Life-Gistics Coaching Solutions. And let me just read you what Life-Gistics is all about. At Life-Gistics Coaching Solutions, we believe that true transformation begins with understanding one core thing, your why. Life is a journey, and while we may face challenges, distractions, and uncertainty along the way, it's the why that keeps us grounded and propelled forward. The name Life-Gistics is more than just a word. It's a reminder that everything in life flows from purpose. The why in life stands for your why, because it's that essential question that guides every decision, every goal, and every action. It's your why that brings meaning to your journey and makes each step feel worth taking. When you know your why, you are unstoppable. So, as you see, I've named it Life-Gistics, and I put the why in there because I want you to remember your why. You know, we know what life is all about. But this is a combination of life and logistics, as I mentioned before. Life that we live, I put the why in there because you got to know your why in order to know what your purpose is in this life. Gistics comes from logistics. I've been a career logistics person throughout my whole career in the military and the civil service. So I combine the two because one thing that we do when we talk about our lives, we go to work every day and we plan and make plans to do this and make plans to do that to be successful in whatever venture we're doing. Why don't we incorporate that into our lives? Life-Gistics. Anyone out there that's looking to change careers? Anyone out there feel that they're lacking in confidence? Anyone out there who just needs somebody to help them? You know, because sometimes we know what we need to do. We just need someone from the outside to look in and say, and listen, not to guide you, not to tell you what you need to do, but to help you go in the direction you're trying to go. That's all we do. That's what we're doing here at Life-Gistics Coaching Solutions. And our motto, awaken the best version of you. Awaken the best version of you. This is not to change who you are. This is not to, for you to become somebody that you're not. What we're here to do and what I'm here to do is to help you get on the track of where you're trying to get to, help you come up with a plan on how you're going to get there, and let's make it happen. In order to awaken the best version of you, number one, you got to know where you've been and come to grips with the fact of anything in your past is in your past. Understand and know that where you're at is not your final destination. Where you're at is just a stepping stone to where you're going. And then to get you focused on the fact that where I want to go is obtainable. Whatever I want to accomplish is obtainable. That lack of confidence that I have, I can overcome. These are things that sometimes we get so caught up that it becomes a roadblock. And these roadblocks are self-made. There's a lot of things out there that people put in our way that we go around, we go over, we go under, we make it through. But our own mindset causes us to put these roadblocks up and stop us from progressing to become the best version of who we know we should be. That's it. It's not about becoming someone you aren't. It's about becoming the best version of you. That's the simplicity of it. So anybody out there that wants to reach out to me, I'm a coach, certified master life coach, confidence coach, happiness coach, goal-setting coach, career coach. I'm a veteran, a leader, a visionary, a motivator, a mentor, and a public speaker. The website is up and running. If you need to reach me, reach out. What is your why? That's the answer. That's the question that you need to ask yourself. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? How do you get to the next level? How do I push past these obstacles that are in my way? That's what I'm here to do. Here to help you get to the next purpose, next meeting, next measure. I'm sorry. I'm going all over the place. Lifegistics Coaching Solutions. Website, www.lifegisticscoaching.com. www.lifegisticscoaching.com. Reach out to me. Send me an email through there. They got the contact page on there. Send me an email. It'll come to my box. We can set up a time, have a meeting. Let me know what your focus is and what you're trying to do. And I can come up with a plan for you on how we can get there. And then we'll go from there. All right. So again, lifegisticscoaching.com. We're having, there's no charge for the first counseling session. First session, we'll sit down, see if we're a good fit, get to a point where we can sit down and come up with a plan for where you want to get to. And then we'll talk finances and everything after that. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in here for the help. I'm trying to help you get to the next level of where you're trying to get to. That's it. That's what I want to do. That's my purpose going forward. Sharice Joseph, good morning, sir. Congratulations on expanding on the wonderful blessings you are bestowing on us in the world. Thank you, Sharice Joseph. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a loyal listener as well. So anybody you know, and it doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be you. If you know somebody that maybe seem like they're stuck or they just need a little oomph or somebody to, help them come up with a plan on how they're going to get to the next level, I'm your man. Reach out to me, www.lifegisticscoaching.com. That's it. That's it. I appreciate y'all for supporting me here with the Speak On This show. And I would hope that you can find some way, somehow, to support me in this new venture that I'm trying to reach out and spread some knowledge and spread some wealth. Because one thing that I always say, if I know something that you don't know, and I refuse to share that with you, is it knowledge, or do I just know something that you don't know? See, knowledge is only what I can provide to you if I share it with you. If I know something you don't know, then I just know something you don't know. That doesn't mean I have the knowledge. Knowledge is shared, not hoarded. Knowledge is shared, not hoarded. Keep that in mind the next time you feel that you don't want to tell somebody or share somebody the blueprint of how you became successful because you want to hold it to yourself because the fear that they might be better than you at what they're doing. It's not knowledge unless you decide to share it. That's the way I'm going with it this year. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. 2025 is a year of growth. It's the year that we're going to the next level. Oh, thank you, Sharice Joseph. Nice shirt. Merch to come. Y'all bear with me. Merch is to come. Thank you for pointing that out. Merch is to come. And I am also in the process of working on a seminar, The Power of Confidence. That's one of my big things is confidence. And I'm working on a seminar for that. And I'm also in the process of putting that in a book format for a self-help book. So be ready for that. Be in tune for that. Big things coming. Y'all bear with me. Also, there's going to be a podcast that branches off into the Lifegistics Coaching Solutions as well. So y'all be prepared. 2025 is a big year. We're moving forward. Slowly but surely, we're moving forward, getting some traction in this thing. And I want to say this. Everyone who has supported me up to this point, I appreciate you. And I thank you. Because nobody can be successful without the support of other folks. You hear people say, I did this all by myself. You'll never hear me say that. You never hear me say that because I know without the support of everybody else, I can't become the best version of myself without people helping me, even when I don't ask for the help. What I will tell you is there's a lot of people out here hurting right now. There's a lot of people going through some things right now. And I talked to a friend of mine yesterday and we had this long conversation about someone we knew that had been MIA for a while. But she was consistent and stayed consistent and persistent on finding out where he was at and what's going on. Make a long story short, she found him. He finally reached back out. He was going through some things. She did everything in her power to get him back to some semblance of normalcy from what he was struggling with. I say that to tell you this. There are a lot of people that need help. There are a lot of people that are struggling with different things. You may not know, but they're struggling with something. And sometimes the reason they don't say anything is because they're too embarrassed to let people know that they need help. We as black men, I want to talk to my black men for a minute. We as black men feel that we want to be this strong image all the time. But sometimes you have to be vulnerable in order to break yourself down to build yourself up. Stop feeling that you have to take on the whole world every day. Let it go. We can't be strong all the time and be there to do what we need to do. If you got to go and take you a ride somewhere and park your car in a park and just get out and yell and scream and cry, do it. Stop holding this emotion in like you're bigger than this and that nothing hurts you or nothing affects you. We have to get past this symbol if we got to be 100% of the time. We break down too. And don't be ashamed to break down in that time that you need to break down. None of us are invincible. Father Time is undefeated. But one thing I know for sure, in your most vulnerable times that you may be dealing with, God got you and he will bless you because now you've shown yourself to be vulnerable to the ways of this world. And the ways of this world can break you down to a point that you can't even recover from if you allow it to. But I say that because I want people to start in this time reaching out to people that you haven't heard from, reaching out to people that you feel that maybe they always got this coat of armor on because they don't want people to know that they struggle. We all struggle. There's no shame in struggling. The shame is when you don't allow yourself to recognize and admit that you're struggling with something at the time you're struggling with it. Because what happens is while we're trying to put up this facade, while you don't want to break down and be vulnerable in these things, your health starts deteriorating. You become reclusive. You lose friendships, you lose family, not because of anything you've done, because you've allowed your pride to stand too tall in the way of people willing to help you at a time when you're in need. That's all I'm saying. We have to get better with reaching out to people and letting them know. Don't just be a cliche. I got you. I'm here for you. Nah. Reach out. Meet up. Break bread. Roy Wisdom Sr. Sounds totally awesome. RC, congratulations. Also, I'll definitely pass this info on. Positive vibes and blessings towards your new venture. Appreciate you, my brother. And I appreciate the time we spent together breaking bread the other day, bro. It was a good time. We got to do it more often. It's been too many years, bro. Amen, Jacqueline Diggs Barnett. Yes, amen. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But as I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. And this weekend, pick up the phone and call somebody that you hadn't heard from for a while. Not through no Facebook Messenger, not through no text message. Call them. Check on them. Ask them how they're doing. And don't just ask them how they're doing. When they tell you, oh, I'm doing good. Are you? Are you really doing good, bro? Open up, bro. I'm here for you. Whatever we talk about is between us. Sis, you good? Everything all right with you? I ain't heard from you in a while. You've been kind of distant. You good? They may not open up right away, but the fact that they know you took the time to call, you don't know how much of a difference that could make in the rest of their day, in the rest of this month, in the rest of this year, and in the rest of their life. None of us should be struggling by ourselves. We got too many avenues to be able to reach out to people and let them know that we're here for them. You can't call yourself a friend if you don't pick up the phone. You can't call yourself a friend if you're not concerned about their well-being. It takes all of us. It takes all of us. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see you. Oh, interview next week. I'm working on that right now. I'll let y'all know more about it. Flyers will be coming out, but we got an interview next week, and we'll go from there. Changing things in 2025. I love y'all, and I'm out. Peace.